One of the words that has been coming to me a lot as I think about my time at LC is the word stability. I think it was the joint effect of family life and church life and then Christian school that created such a bedrock, a stable foundation for my whole life. Just learning about the world from a Christian perspective is one way to come to understand that we don't just receive these things, but these are blessings in our life so that we can be a blessing to the world that needs it so badly. My husband and I are missionaries in Cameroon, which is in Central Africa, and we work for Wycliffe Bible Translators, which is an organization that works to translate the Bible into minority languages all over the world. In 2013 is when we first arrived in Central Africa to begin our work. My husband and I, together and independently, had done a number of mission trips and been to the developing world, so we kind of thought, we got this, we know what we're getting into. And then we arrived with 3-year-old twins, so we had children this time, which we hadn't had before, and it was a whole different ballgame. So I feel like our first term was really that journey of such strong culture shock, and then by the time we left feeling like, wow, we can actually live here, we can not just function, but we can thrive. And we started making wonderful relationships with Cameroonians, seeing the beauty of Christians who are working in their culture to bring the gospel, and what a difference it made in their lives. And we learned some of those cultural nuances of how to respond to different situations that were so hard for us at the beginning. So that was, I think, the journey of our first term, was getting to a place that, yeah, we can really live here and love this place and thrive. And I think we did get to that point. So we've traveled around, seen a lot, and when we come back to Lynden, it's sort of that stability that really stands out as peculiar in a very healthy way. Like, wow, this is a very unique place. Just how consistent and stable and wholesome, holistic this environment is. That is exactly the kind of thing I want for my kids. I don't want them to just have an average American education with a few Bible classes tacked on. I want them to have this holistic, full perspective of their faith in the world. God's truth is beautiful, it's good, it brings a great blessing to the world, and that foundation is being laid here.
Well, I remember that Lynden Christian always won the sports award, I think it was called. And I remember one of those meetings, these fellow student body presidents say, well, why is it that Lynden Christian is always winning this sports award? Because we were taught that. We were taught to be sportsmanlike. It's kind of part of our DNA. I'm Jack Lyman. I live in Redmond. Lived there for close to 50 years. And I retired from Boeing as a CFO of about a third of the company. I took an early retirement. Since then, I've been doing all kinds of interesting things, a lot of volunteer things. So my class of 1963 had some students that were interested in athletics and outdoors, and I was one of those. I did a lot of hunting, and I still do. And 3 of my high school friends still hunt with me every year. My parents immigrated from Amsterdam. We took a boat to New York and a Greyhound bus to Bellingham, Washington. My teacher was Mrs. Snapper, and Mrs. Snapper was fluent in Dutch. I was different. I spoke different. I dressed differently. My parents were different. And so one of my goals was to be like everybody else. So in that process, you tend to kind of question yourself and question what's going on. And it always comes back to, hey, there's this great book called the Scriptures, right? That has the answers. We just need to focus on it, and an education that's based on that is absolutely awesome. I think as I've aged, I've gained perspectives on life that I kind of came out of a foundation, starting with a solid education based on Scripture. This worldview concept, I believe, in an expanded form, is one of the most important things that students can learn. And so if there's a scenario where a Christian school is available, then it's a wonderful resource. And in my case, it was a great place for me to grow up.
LC really exposed me and allowed me to see Christianity and God through science, through math, through English, through literature, through history. So that's what I could attribute LC to. They really fostered and harbored this worldview in all aspects of life. My name is AJ Hukuma, and I graduated in 2003. I'm in the Washington State National Guard. I was in the Navy for 9 years, active duty, and my first year was in Crete, second tour was in Connecticut. I've deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Dubai, Spain, Panama. So we've kind of been all over the US and all over the world, and we've decided that after all that, coming back here and putting our oldest two through LC was our main priority, to give them a solid Christian foundation, not only at home but also at school. My kids have been a product of private Christian school and government public school and just regular public school, on base, off base. And one of the overarching questions I ask myself is, well, if LC wasn't around, would it be worth it? You know, would I want my kids to know about Christ at school? Would I want my kids to know about how God forms, life and plant life and science and biology? Would I want to have my kids see God and all that? Would I want my kids to be honoring God in the arts and the sciences and the sports? The answer is yes. I'd want a Christian school. I'd want my kids to be able to pray at school and not be bound by restriction, to talk to kids about Christ, to come alongside and love and help and encourage each other through a Bible study at a school, through prayer, through seeking out teachers to mentor, and to know that Christ is in every aspect of education, and that is absolutely worth the investment.